It was a sunny Saturday, the kind of day that makes you want to be outside all day long. The sky was big and blue, not a cloud in sight, and the air felt warm and happy. Perfect for a barbecue, right? My name's Jack. I'm just a regular guy who loves flipping burgers on my grill. I live in a little neighborhood with houses all around, and most of my neighbors are pretty cool. They smile and wave when they see me outside. Some even stop by to say hi when they smell the food cooking. But there's one neighbor who's different. Her name is Karen, and she's not like the others. Oh no, not even close. Karen is what I call the HOA queen. HOA stands for Homeowners Association, which is like a group that makes rules for our street. Karen loves those rules more than anything. She walks around like she owns the whole place, watching everything and everyone. If your dog barks too loud, she's there. If your trash can sits out too long, she's there. She's the type of person who'd pull out a ruler and measure your grass just to see if it's too tall. I'm not kidding. She's got sharp eyes and a loud voice, and she's always ready to tell you what you're doing wrong. Most days, I just laugh it off. But this Saturday? This Saturday was different. I woke up that morning feeling great. The sun was shining, and my stomach was already growling for some juicy burgers. I pulled my grill out to the backyard, a little patch of grass behind my house. It's nothing fancy, just a spot with a picnic table, some chairs, and my trusty grill. I love that grill. It's old and a little rusty, but it cooks the best food ever. I grabbed some charcoal, lit it up, and soon the flames were dancing. Thick, gray smoke started curling into the sky, twisting and twirling like it was putting on a show. I tossed some burgers on the grill, and that sizzling sound made me smile. My friends were coming over soon, and I couldn't wait to eat, laugh, and have a good time. Now, my neighbors usually don't care about my BBQs. Sometimes they even peek over the fence and say, "Smells good, Jack." I'll wave back and invite them to grab a burger if they want. It's all friendly and fun. But Karen? She's not like that. She doesn't like smoke. She doesn't like noise. She doesn't like anything that messes up her perfect little world. I didn't know it yet, but that smoke curling up into the air was like a big red flag to her. It was waving right in her face, and she was already getting mad. Trouble was brewing, and I had no clue. Picture this, I'm standing there in my backyard, flipping burgers with a big grin on my face. The sun's warm on my shoulders, and the smell of food is making my mouth water. My buddies are on their way, and I'm thinking this is going to be the best day ever. I've got a cooler full of cold sodas, a stack of buns ready to go, and some music playing on my little radio. Everything's perfect. But across the street, Karen's watching. She's standing on her porch with her arms crossed, her eyes squinting at my grill like it's some kind of monster. I didn't see her yet, but she saw me. And she didn't like what she saw one bit. Karen's house is right across from mine. It's super neat, like something out of a picture book. Her grass is always short, her flowers are always perfect, and her windows sparkle like they're brand new. She spends all her time making sure everything stays just right. So when she saw that smoke floating up from my yard, it was like I'd broken one of her big rules. To me, it was just a barbecue. To her, it was a crime. I didn't know it then, but she was already planning something. Her mind was spinning, and her phone was about to come out. Here's the funny part, I'm not a troublemaker. I'm just Jack, the guy who likes burgers and sunny days. I don't fight with people. I don't break rules on purpose. I just want to live my life and have some fun. But Karen doesn't see it that way. To her, I'm the guy who's always messing things up. If my music's too loud, she complains. If my car's parked a little crooked, she complains. And now, with my grill smoking up the sky, she was ready to lose it. I had no idea how big this was going to get. So there I was, humming a little song while the burgers cooked. The smoke kept rising, higher and higher, like a signal I didn't even mean to send. My friends were almost here, I could hear their voices down the street. I was thinking about how much fun we'd have, how we'd sit around the table and tell silly stories. I didn't know that Karen was about to turn my perfect day upside down. I didn't know she'd make this barbecue something people would talk about for weeks. Here's a question for you, have you ever met someone who just can't leave you alone? Maybe it's a neighbor, a teacher, or even a kid at school who's always bugging you. Karen's that person for me. She's like a hawk, always watching, always waiting for something to go wrong. But this time, she didn't know what was coming. She thought she was in charge, but boy, was she wrong. Stick around, because this story's about to get wild. That smoke in the sky? It was just the start. Karen was about to make a move, and I was about to find out that my barbecue was more than just a meal. It was the spark that lit up everything. The day felt so normal at first. Just me, my grill, and a bunch of burgers. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and I was happy. I didn't see Karen glaring. I didn't hear her muttering to herself. I didn't know she was already dialing her phone, ready to call the cops on me. All I knew was that my burgers were almost ready, and my friends were pulling into the driveway. It was a perfect Saturday, or so I thought. Trouble was sneaking up, and Karen was leading the charge. What happens next? You'll have to keep listening, because this barbecue is about to get crazy. It was a perfect Saturday afternoon in my backyard. The sun was shining bright, and the smell of sizzling burgers was everywhere. You know that yummy smell when meat cooks on a grill? That's what filled the air. My little grill was working hard, sending up little puffs of smoke while the burgers turned brown and juicy. My friends were all around me, sitting at the picnic table. They had cold sodas in their hands, the cans dripping with icy water. Everyone was laughing, telling jokes, and having a great time. It felt like the best day ever until I heard her. Her name's Karen, and she's my neighbor. Not the nice kind of neighbor who waves and smiles. No, Karen's different. She's the bossy type, always watching, always complaining. That day, she was standing on her porch across the street, and her voice hit me like a loud whistle. "Jack," she yelled. "That smoke is a health hazard. I'm calling the cops." Her words were sharp and angry, cutting through all the fun we were having. I stopped flipping a burger and looked up. There she was, glaring at me like I'd done something awful. Karen's porch is right across from my yard. She was standing there, her arms crossed, her face all red and mad. She held her phone in one hand, shaking it at me like it was a weapon. Her eyes were locked on my grill, and I swear she looked like she thought I'd set her precious roses on fire. Those roses are her pride and joy. She waters them every day and talks about them like they're her babies. But my grill wasn't anywhere near them. The smoke was just floating up into the sky, not even close to her yard. Still, she was furious. I tried to stay calm. I waved at her with my spatula, the big spoon thing I used to flip burgers, and smiled. "It's just a barbecue, Karen," I said. "Relax." My voice was friendly, not mean. I didn't want a fight. I just wanted to cook my food and hang out with my friends. But Karen didn't care. Her eyes got smaller, like little slits, and she didn't smile back. Instead, she lifted her phone to her ear and started dialing. Right there, in front of me, she called 911. My jaw dropped a little. Was she serious? Over some smoke? My friends saw it too. They were sitting there, holding their sodas, and a couple of them started to snicker. "She's calling the cops over a barbecue," one of them said, giggling. "That's nuts," another one added. They thought it was funny, like a big joke. I laughed a little too, but inside, my stomach did a little flip. It felt like a twist, like when you're nervous about something but don't want to show it. Karen wasn't laughing. She was talking into her phone, her voice loud enough for me to hear bits of it. "Yes, smoke, dangerous, my street," she sounded so sure, like she was the hero saving the day. I looked at my grill. The burgers were popping and hissing, and the smoke was still going up. It wasn't even that much smoke, just enough to show the food was cooking. I've had BBQs before, and no one ever cared. My neighbors usually like it. Sometimes they even come over and say, "Smells good, Jack." But Karen? She's not like that. She's the queen of rules. She's part of the HOA, that's the group that tells us what we can and can't do on our street. Karen loves the HOA. She walks around like she's in charge of everything, and if you break one tiny rule, she's on you like a hawk. That day, she decided my barbecue was breaking the rules. I don't even know what rule, maybe something about smoke or noise. She never told me. She just stood there, yelling and dialing, acting like I was some big bad guy. My friends kept giggling, but I wasn't so sure it was funny anymore. What if the cops really came? What if they told me to stop? I didn't want trouble. I just wanted burgers and a good time. But Karen's glare was so strong, it felt like she could burn a hole right through me. I waved again, trying to be nice. Come on, Karen, I called. It's not a big deal. But she didn't answer. She just kept talking on the phone, nodding her head like she was telling the police a huge story. My buddies were still chuckling, but I could feel that twist in my stomach getting tighter. She was serious. Really serious. I started to wonder, what if she got her way? What if someone showed up and ruined everything? I didn't know it yet, but her big plan was about to fall apart. She thought she was winning, but something else was coming. The smell of burgers kept floating around us. My friends were still happy, cracking jokes about Karen. She's gonna arrest the grill, one of them said, and they all laughed. I smiled, but my eyes kept sneaking back to her. She was off the phone now, standing there with her arms crossed again. She looked so smug, like she'd already won. Her lips were tight, and her chin was up high. She thought the cops were on their way to shut me down. I could tell she was imagining it, lights flashing, officers yelling, my barbecue turned off forever. But here's the thing, Karen didn't know everything. She thought she had all the power, standing there with her phone and her rules. She thought she could scare me and stop my fun. My friend's snickering made her madder, I bet, but I was starting to feel something else. That twist in my stomach wasn't just nerves anymore, it was a little spark of wait and see. I didn't know why yet, but something told me this wasn't over. Karen's plan wasn't as perfect as she thought. The burgers kept cooking, and the smoke kept rising. My yard was still full of laughs and soda cans clinking. Karen's voice had quieted down, but her stare was loud as ever. She was waiting, watching, sure that she'd beat me. I waved one more time, just to see if she'd chill out. Nope. Her eyes narrowed even more, and she turned her back, like she was too important to look at me. My friends thought it was hilarious, but I wasn't so sure. That twist in my gut was still there. She was serious, and I didn't like it. Little did she know, her big, bossy move was about to flop and flop hard. Something was coming, and it was going to change everything. The smoke from my grill kept going up, up, up into the sky. It was thick and gray, swirling around like little clouds having a party. I was standing there, flipping burgers, watching them sizzle and pop. My backyard was full of good smells, and my friends were sitting around the picnic table, laughing and sipping their sodas. Everything felt fun and easy except for one thing. Karen. She was still over there, pacing back and forth on her porch like an angry cat. Her arms were crossed tight, and her face was all scrunched up. She didn't like my barbecue one bit, and she wasn't going to let it go. Then, she yelled over the fence. Her voice was loud and sharp, cutting through the air like a whistle. "You'll regret this, Jack," she shouted. "The police are coming, and they'll shut you down." I heard her, but I didn't look up right away. I just flipped another burger and shrugged my shoulders. I wasn't scared, not yet. I mean, it's just a barbecue, right? How could the police care about some smoke and burgers? My friends laughed when they heard her. "She's crazy," one of them said, shaking his head. I smiled a little, but deep down, I started to wonder. Was she really calling the cops? Over this? I kept cooking, trying to ignore her, but I couldn't help noticing something weird. My buddy Mike was sitting there, sipping his soda, and he wasn't laughing like the others. Mike's one of my best friends. He's tall, quiet, and always shows up with a big grin. But today, he was extra quiet. And right then, while Karen was yelling, I saw a little smile on his face. Not a big laugh, just a sneaky grin, like he knew something nobody else did. I tilted my head and looked at him. "What's so funny, Mike?" I asked. He just shrugged and said, "Oh, nothing. Just wait." Wait for what? I didn't get it, but that grin stuck in my head. Here's the thing about Mike, he's not just a regular guy. He's my friend, sure, but he's got a job he doesn't talk about much. I knew he worked somewhere important, but he never bragged about it. He's not the type to show off. I'd asked him once what he did, and he just said, "Oh, you know, I help people." That was it. No big story, no details. Back then, I didn't think much of it. But now, with Karen yelling and that grin on his face, I started to wonder. Did Mike have a secret? Was something going on I didn't know about? I didn't have time to figure it out, because things were about to get louder. Karen wasn't done. She kept pacing, her slippers slapping the porch floor. Slap, slap, slap. She pointed at me over the fence and yelled again. This is against the rules, Jack. You can't have all that smoke. I'm telling the HOA, and the police are on their way. Her voice was so loud, I bet the whole street heard her. My friends rolled their eyes. She's nuts, one of them whispered. I nodded, but I felt a little twist in my stomach. The police? Really? I looked at the grill. The smoke was still rising, big and puffy, floating over the fence into her yard. Okay, maybe it was a little smoky. But calling the cops? That seemed wild. Minutes went by. The burgers were almost done, and I was stacking them on a plate. My friends were joking around, telling stories about school and silly stuff. I tried to laugh with them, but I kept glancing at Karen. She wasn't pacing anymore. Now she was standing still, holding her phone to her ear. She was talking fast, nodding her head like she was mad. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught a few words. Yes, officer, smoke, dangerous, right now. My heart jumped a little. She wasn't kidding. She'd really called the police. I looked at my grill, then at my friends. Guys, I said. I think she means it. That's when I heard its sirens. They were far away at first, just a little wail in the distance. But they were getting louder. Wee-oh-oh, wee-oh-oh. My friends stopped laughing. No way, one of them said. She called the cops over a barbecue. I shrugged again, but now I was nervous. The sirens kept coming closer, and I could feel my hands getting sweaty. Was Karen really winning this? Was I about to get in trouble for grilling burgers? I looked at the smoke again. It was still going strong, drifting up and over the houses. Maybe it did look kind of big. Maybe she had a point. But still cops? For this? I turned to Mike. He was still sitting there, calm as ever, with that same sneaky grin. Mike, I said. What's going on? Why aren't you worried? He took a slow sip of his soda and leaned back in his chair. Don't worry, Jack, he said. It's all good. All good. How could it be all good? Sirens were screaming, Karen was glaring, and I was starting to think my barbecue was doomed. But Mike didn't look scared. He didn't even look surprised. That grin was bigger now, and his eyes were twinkling like he was about to tell me something huge. The sirens were super close now. I could hear tires on the street, rolling up to my house. My friends were whispering to each other. What's gonna happen? One asked. Are we in trouble? Another said. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, holding my spatula, watching the smoke rise. Karen was smiling now, a big, mean smile. She thought she'd won. She thought the police were going to march into my yard, turn off my grill, and maybe even take me away. I could see it in her face. She was so sure of herself. But Mike? He wasn't moving. He just sat there, grinning like this was the best day ever. The sun was still shining bright in my backyard, and the burgers were almost ready to eat. The smell was so good, and my friends were still chatting and sipping their sodas. But then, everything changed. I heard a noise, a loud wee-oh-oh sound. It was a police car. It rolled up right in front of my house, its lights flashing red and blue. My heart started beating fast. I looked over the fence, and there it was, parked on the street. Karen saw it too, and oh boy, did she look happy. Karen was standing on her porch, and when that police car showed up, a big smirk spread across her face. A smirk is like a mean little smile, and hers was huge. She crossed her arms tight, like she'd just won a big prize at a game. She looked so proud, like she'd finally caught me doing something bad. The car doors opened, and two officers stepped out. They were tall, wearing dark uniforms with shiny badges on their chests. Karen didn't waste a second. She marched right over to them, her slippers slapping the ground, slap, slap, slap. She pointed at my grill with a long, skinny finger and barked, "Arrest him." He's breaking every rule. Her voice was loud and bossy, like she was in charge of the whole world. I stood there, holding my spatula, my mouth open a little. Arrest me? 4 burgers. My friends stopped talking and stared. One of them whispered, "Is she for real?" I didn't know what to say. The officers looked at Karen, then at me, then at the grill. The smoke was still puffing up, curling into the sky, but it didn't seem like a big deal to me. I thought maybe they'd laugh and tell her to go home. But Karen kept going. "That smoke is dangerous," she said. "He's ruining the neighborhood." I felt my stomach twist again. Those cops were standing there, listening to her. Were they really going to do something? I looked at my grill, then at my friends. Everyone was quiet now, waiting to see what would happen. Karen's smirk got even bigger. She thought she'd won. She thought the police were here to shut me down and take me away. I could see it in her eyes. She was so sure this was her big moment. But then, something amazing happened. Something she never saw coming. My buddy Mike stood up. Mike, the quiet guy who'd been sitting there all day with that sneaky grin. He didn't look worried at all. He was calm as ever, like nothing big was happening. He took a slow sip of his soda, set the can down, and then walked toward the cops. My eyes got wide. What was he doing? Karen didn't even notice him at first. She was too busy pointing and yelling. But I watched. Mike reached into his pocket, pulled out something shiny, and held it up. It was a badge, a police badge. Yep, a real one, just like the ones the officers were wearing. "Hey, guys," Mike said to the cops, his voice nice and easy. "I'm off duty today. Just hanging out, enjoying some burgers. Everything's fine here." He smiled at them, holding up that badge like it was no big deal. The officers looked at it, then at him, and they nodded. "Hey, Mike," one of them said. "Good to see you. Smells great over there." They laughed a little, like it was all a fun joke. My jaw dropped. Mike was a cop? My quiet buddy Mike? I had no idea. Karen's face changed fast. That big smirk? Gone. Her mouth fell open so wide, I bet you could have tossed a burger in there. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her arms dropped to her sides, and she just stood there, staring. The cops weren't here to arrest me, they were Mike's friends. And Mike? He wasn't just some guy eating my food. He was one of them, a police officer, off duty and chilling at my barbecue. Karen had called 911, thinking she'd get me in trouble, but the cops were already here eating my burgers. I couldn't believe it. My friends couldn't either. One of them started laughing, then another, and soon the whole table was cracking up. "She called the cops on the cops," someone shouted, "and we all lost it." The officers turned to Karen, and one of them said, "Ma'am, looks like there's no problem here. Just a barbecue." He tipped his hat a little, like he was being polite, but I could tell he thought it was funny too. Karen's face went red, bright red. She opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. She was stuck, frozen like a statue. Mike walked back to the table, still calm, still grinning. He sat down and picked up his soda like nothing had happened. "Told you it's all good," he said to me, winking. I shook my head, laughing. "Mike, you're a cop?" I asked. He shrugged. "Yeah, didn't I tell you?" No, he hadn't. But now it all made sense, his quiet way, that sneaky grin, how he wasn't scared when the sirens came. He knew the whole time. Karen didn't know what to do. She'd marched over to those officers so fast, so sure she was right. She'd barked at them like a big, angry dog, telling them to arrest me. But now she looked silly. The cops weren't mad at me. They weren't shutting anything down. They waved at us, friendly as can be, and started walking back to their car. "Enjoy your day," one of them called. Karen just stood there, her hands shaking a little. Her big plan, her 911 call, had turned into her own nightmare. The police car was still parked out front, its lights flashing red and blue, but the officers weren't mad. Not even a little. They stood there, looking at my grill, and one of them started to chuckle. A chuckle's like a little laugh, soft and friendly. "Smells good, Jack," he said, waving at me with a big smile. "Enjoy your day." The other officer nodded, and they both turned to head back to their car. My friends at the picnic table cheered, clapping their hands and laughing loud. I waved back at the cops, my spatula still in my hand, feeling like I'd just won something big. Karen didn't know what to do. She was standing there, right by the fence, her face turning bright red. She looked like a tomato, all hot and flustered. But the smoke, she stammered. Stammering is when you try to talk but the words get stuck, and hers were tripping all over each other. She pointed at my grill again, like she couldn't believe what was happening. She'd called the cops to stop me, to shut down my barbecue, but they didn't care. They liked the smell. Her big plan was falling apart, and she couldn't fix it. Then Mike, my buddy Mike, the secret cop, did something awesome. He stood up from the table, calm as ever, and grabbed a burger from the plate. It was hot and juicy, with a bun all soft and ready. He walked over to Karen, that sneaky grin still on his face, and held it out to her. "Lighten up, Karen," he said, his voice nice and easy. "Join us next time." He wasn't mad or mean, he was just being Mike, cool and chill. My friends laughed even harder, and I did too. It was perfect. Karen wanted to fight, but Mike was offering her food instead. Karen's eyes got wide, like she couldn't believe it. She stared at the burger in Mike's hand, then at him, then at me. Her mouth opened, but no words came out at first. Finally, she shook her head fast and snapped, "This isn't over. There are HOA violations here." Her voice was all shaky, not loud and bossy like before. HOA violations are those rules she loves so much, the ones she thinks I broke with my grill. But nobody cared about her rules right then, not the cops, not my friends, not even me. She turned around, her slippers slapping the ground, and stormed off to her house. Slap, 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 she was gone, muttering to herself the whole way. My friends went wild. "Woohoo," they shouted, raising their soda cans in the air. "Karen's out," one of them yelled, and we all cracked up. The police car started up, and the officers drove away, waving one last time. They didn't tell me to stop. They didn't turn off my grill. They just left, happy as could be. I looked at the grill, the smoke was still rising, big and puffy, floating up into the sky. The burgers were still sizzling, and the party? Oh, it was just getting started. We turned the music up louder. The little radio on the table blasted fun songs, and my friends started dancing around the yard. Someone grabbed more sodas from the cooler, and I flipped another batch of burgers. The smoke got thicker, curling up higher than ever, like it was saying, "Take that, Karen." We didn't care if she saw it. We didn't care if she heard us. She'd tried to ruin our day, but she couldn't. Instead, she made it better, way better. Karen's big fuss? It didn't work. She thought she'd be the hero, calling 911 and getting me in trouble. She thought the cops would march in, shut everything down, and make her look smart. But nope. Her plan flopped, and now everyone was talking about it. My barbecue wasn't just a barbecue anymore, it was legendary. That's a big word that means super famous and cool. My friends kept saying, "This is the best day ever, and Karen's never gonna live this down." They were right. I sat down at the table with a burger of my own. It was hot and tasty, the bun all soft and the meat all juicy. Mike sat next to me, still grinning. "Thanks, man," I said to him. He shrugged. "No big deal," he replied, taking a bite of his burger. But it was a big deal. If Mike hadn't been there, if he hadn't shown his badge, maybe things would have gone bad. Maybe Karen would have won. But she didn't, and that felt so good. The sun started to set, turning the sky all orange and pink. The party kept going, louder and smokier than ever. We ate more burgers, told more stories, and laughed until our sides hurt. Every now and then, I'd look over at Karen's house. Her lights were on, but she didn't come out again. I bet she was inside, mad as could be, muttering about her rules and her roses. Maybe she was writing a letter to the HOA, trying to get me in trouble some other way. But it didn't matter. She couldn't stop us now. Nobody messes with my grill anymore, not even her. After that day, the whole street knew what happened. My neighbors heard the story, and some even stopped by to say, "Good job, Jack." They thought it was funny too. Karen used to walk around like she owned everything, but now, Now she's quieter. She still glares sometimes, still watches from her porch, but she doesn't yell as much. Maybe she learned something. Maybe she knows my barbecue is tougher than her rules. The night got dark, and we lit a little fire in the yard, not the grill, just a small one to sit around. The stars came out, twinkling above us, and the smoke from the fire mixed with the grill smoke still in the air. My friends were happy, full of burgers and soda, and I was too. Karen's big fuss didn't ruin anything, it made our party the best ever. Justice was served, and it tasted like a big, juicy burger. She tried to be the boss, but we won. And that felt awesome. So, here's what I learned that day: sometimes the loudest people don't know everything. Karen was yelling and acting big, like she could control my barbecue. She thought she'd win with her phone call and her rules, but she didn't see the whole picture. She didn't know about Mike or how things would turn out. I didn't have to fight her or get mad, life took care of it all by itself. She tried to stop me, but in the end, my grill kept going, and her plan fell apart. That's pretty cool, right? Maybe you've got a Karen in your world too. Someone who's always bossy or trying to ruin your fun. It could be a kid at school, a grumpy neighbor, or even someone in your family. They might act loud and tough, but don't let them scare you. Keep doing your thing, whether it's a barbecue, a game, or just being you. The truth always finds a way to come out, like sunshine after a rainy day. Karen thought she was in charge, but my party got bigger and better because of her fuss. What do you think? Have you ever had a moment like this? Maybe a time when someone tried to stop you, but you kept going and won? I'd love to hear about it. Drop your story below, tell me about your own barbecue moment. Life's funny sometimes. The loud ones don't always win, and the quiet ones like Mike can surprise you. So keep flipping your burgers, keep smiling, and don't let anyone turn off your fun. You've got this.